so we suggest being thorough but concise. When coming to the microphone, you will need to identify yourself and your relationship to the project. The commissioners will not ask any questions during your presentation. Your project should be presented in the following order: site plan, elevations, architectural details, wall sections. Staff will then present their report. We will then ask for public comment. Please state and spell your name clearly if you are here to speak for or against the project. Your time will be limited to 3 minutes, so take some time now to summarize your comments because 3 minutes goes by very quickly. Following public comment, the commissioners will ask questions in the same order as the presentation. Next, the applicant will have 5 minutes for rebuttal. The public hearing will then be closed. After the public hearing is closed, no further testimony can be given. The commissioners will then discuss the case and will make their decisions based on Chapter 27 of the City Code of Ordinances, the Design Guidelines, the Secretary of Interior Standards, Historic Preservation Development Review Committee comments, and the testimony given at the public hearing. The ARC can only act on items that are within our specific jurisdictional responsibility. Owner agents are independently responsible to obtain any appropriate permits and/or approvals. If you haven't already done so, please silence cell phones, and I will start on my left with the introduction of the commissioners.
Brian Hammond, architect.
Dan Myers, architect.
John Prokop, I practice architecture.
In addition, we have Ron Vila and our attorney, Dana Crosby Collier.
Good evening, Commissioners. Ron Vila. I'm a planner with Historic Preservation. At this time, legal address counsel.
Yes. Good evening. Dana Crosby Collier, City Attorney's Office. Would like to ask if any member has a conflict of interest with any item on the agenda this evening.
I do not.
Thank you. And has any member engaged in ex parte communication regarding any item on the agenda this evening?
I have not.
Thank you.
Moving down the agenda, we have two continuations reflected. They're moving to two separate dates, so we need independent motions. The first one is ARC-25-00000272. This is for the address of 725 South Boulevard Avenue. They're requested by the agent to continue to Monday, July 7th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. And if we get a motion, please.
I move to continue ARC 25-00000272 at 725 South Brevard Avenue to the Monday, July 7th public hearing at 5:30 p.m.
I'll second.
All right, we have a second. Seeing no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you for that motion. And the second,
I move to continue ARC 25-00000240 at 825 Bayshore Boulevard to the Monday, August 4th public hearing at 5:30 p.m.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion. Seeing no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
thank you for those motions. At this time, we're ready for the swear-in. Ms. Knowles will swear us in. Everybody that wishes to testify, please stand up and raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Moving to the first agenda item, and the only item on the agenda this evening is ARC-25-00000155. This is for the address of 1806 Bristol Avenue. It's in the Hyde Park Historic District. There are two structures currently on the site. The primary structure is non-contributing, and the detached accessory structure is contributing and dates back to 1920. The underlying zoning is RS 50. The request is for a certificate of appropriateness for new construction for a two-story single-family residence with site improvements. Some past action that this came in front of this board on April 7th, 2025, and it was continued for additional information. Then it came back to you on May 5th, 2025. It was approved, preliminary approved with conditions. There's 6 conditions that were attached to that preliminary approval, and they're reflected on page 3 of your staff report. So briefly, to get you re-familiar with the project, this is the 1929 Sanborn map. As I zoom in, you just see the area in question, and you just see the accessory structure in the rear. That was the only structure on site on 1929. This is the vicinity map. You see the proximity to Hyde Park Village and the crosstown. And just to share with you the aerial. Moving to the photos. This is the non-contributing primary structure. Just gonna walk you around that structure here. That's the front and the north elevation. This is the north elevation. Moving to the contributing accessory structure. This is the north elevation and the west. Focusing on the north elevation, how it accepts the automobile. Looking at some of the surrounding properties. This is abutting to the south, directly across the street to the west, and directly across the street to the north. That concludes the photo presentation. I just want to give you kind of a brief recap of what you looked at before. Once again, you're going to focus on the conditions that were outstanding from preliminary approval. We met with the agent. He's going to go through just a brief summary of the site and then focus on those 6 outstanding items. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Hanso, I'm the agent.
Good evening, my name is Mark Lovenoff, I'm the owner of the property.
Just want to make sure, is it projected? All right, great. All right, let's start with some of the required documents. Here's a site plan showing the main proposed residence in the center, the detached accessory structure, and a covered breezeway in between. We made some changes to the site plan, which I'll discuss as responses to the comments. Next sheet over is going to show the exterior elevations, showing the west elevation and the north elevation. Next sheet is going to show the rear elevation, and then we also have the east elevation as well. Next sheet is going to show cross sections through certain areas of the building. Next sheet is going to show the third building section through the front patio. This sheet over here highlights how we're going to be in keeping with the neighborhood with the retaining wall section, concrete cast in place. Then we have a small detail through the windows that will be recessed. And then to get into the material palette. So this is likely going to be our spec. It's going to be aluminum clad windows, black style frames, and then we'll have different types, casements, fixed, single hung. This is an example of the brick that will be painted white and then will be installed in a stacked pattern. Examples of the door hardware for the exterior doors. This is a possible selection for the exterior entry doors as well. That'll be a solid wood. Examples of the wall sconces for the exterior lighting. Examples of the ceiling, the wood ceilings that will be stained for the patios. An example of the shingle roofing. This is an example of the ventilated hardy soffit composite. Then, of course, we have the hardy trim that will go around the windows. And then these are some of the updated exterior renderings going through with the first, the west elevation, northwest elevation, north elevation, another side angle of the north, northeast elevation. These are some added renderings. So the south elevation now shows the rear lanai and then the covered breezeway attaching both structures. South elevation. And then some more close-in shots of the breezeway. Then the rear lanai as well. So let me jump into the responses to the staff report. The first comment being the wide proportion windows to be split into pairs. Our response is that we've gone ahead and the corner volume's width has been reduced. And that is also a response to a comment that I'm gonna mention as well. So in proportion, it only makes sense, instead of doing 2 windows, to just go ahead and do 1, since this width was reduced. And I think it's in better proportion with the adjacent windows. The next comment is the porch projection into the setback will be reduced or eliminated. So I have the before and after. This is clearly showing the before, and then this is the after. So what we've done is we pushed back these columns at least 2 feet. We reduced the stairs as well, the width, and then we have also recessed the patio as well. So overall, the size of the patio has been reduced. So the only portion that's sticking out past that setback, which is less than 36 inches of height, is just gonna be a place to basically house pots for landscaping. The next comment is the prominence of the southeast corner in relationship to the main entry to be reevaluated. I'll show that in the rendering as well, but what we've done is initially, this width was the same width as the entry volume, and now it's been reduced, as you can see right here, so these no longer align with each other there. The planters to be removed, so those planters, clearly we've just removed them altogether, and then we can still maintain the landscaping that we had in mind. Consider redesigning the front porch in a more hospitable, occupiable way. I've alluded to some of the changes that we've already done, but what we've also done is increase the width of the patio as well. Again, to give that main entry some more focus and more prominence. And then we'll still have the room to put a couple chairs out there. In addition to detailing all the final parts of the building that are required for a final certificate of appropriateness, including the connector piece and all other aspects of the sites. So our response is we've added the south and east elevations of the residence, and we've also provided more detailing and renderings of the other areas that we were previously lacking information on. So what I have highlighted on here is the breezeway. So this is the existing detached accessory structure. And then what we're proposing to do is to build columns in the same liking to the front entry porches. We'll have a covered breezeway. And then we'll have a side entrance here, back entry, to get into the house, and then some steps up to it. So this is a side angle of that. And then the last condition was just to go over the material palette, which I did that previously in the presentation. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Ron Velam, staff with Historic Preservation. In reviewing this project coming forward, we look for the completeness of the project, adhering to the outstanding conditions from preliminary approval. Staff's finding that this application is consistent and ready for final approval. He addressed all 6 bullet items from the preliminary approval, and on page 4 of your staff report, as part of the wall section, he went through each of those items and he expressed his desire this evening. So I'll be here and answer any questions.
Great, thank you very much. All right, not seeing anybody in the audience, we will move on to commissioner questions. I'll go ahead and start on my left.
I would just like for you to just kind of run through your perspectives again, really quick. Just
Yes.
looking again, really at that where you took the windows and reduced those. I just wanted to get another glimpse at that, if you don't mind. Okay. And if you could, yeah, just scroll on down. Okay. Yeah, I don't have any questions.
Good.
Thank you.
If you would consider, if you would continue scrolling, can we look at the, I think it's the south elevation?
Yes.
Ah, okay, thank you. And so you've carried the brick up to just below the, to form a windowsill as well on
Yeah.
the second floor?
Mhm.
But you didn't do it on the little connector there, and I can see why. So,
Over
thank you.
here?
And does that, no, actually, it's on the area above the like rear porch, that lanai back
Okay,
there.
right here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was just for, I don't want that brick to hit that roof,
Mm-hmm.
basically. It's just preventing the water intrusion issues.
Sure. And it's the brick, and then it's going to have the stucco above, and does that show up on your wall section?
Yes,
Can we take a look at that quickly?
yeah. That'll be this detail right here.
And don't forget that those, it looks like there's some horizontal surfaces there that need to actually shed water, right?
Correct.
But-
I'll make sure that gets taken care of.
Yeah. Okay, I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You don't have any actual detailed wall sections that show construction? Like
As far as like masonry behind the structural portion?
Yeah, well, I mean, what you've done is basically just blocked out a building section, but there are no real detailed wall sections that are required for these hearings. On the wall section you did show, you call something out to be composite trim. What does that mean?
That is this right here, this composite hardy trim board.
Okay, is that, do you have a dimension for that? How thick it is? In
So
any
typi-
cases, how thick it protrudes from the face of the wall?
So
If it's
typi-
capping brick, it can't just be a board,
Yeah,
if it's a
so,
brick cap.
correct, yeah. So these are typically 3/4 of an inch thick. And then the trim will be used just around the edges of the window openings.
Okay, but it says composite trim, horizontal composite trim. Go back to that wall section that you had up earlier. Okay. What's the cap at the top of the brick then?
That right there,
Yeah,
that's likely gonna be, probably gonna do some kind of stucco cap at the top.
okay, but it's not detailed. And the composite trim is shown at what dimensions? What are the dimensions of all this?
3/4 of an inch thick, I would say.
Those are drawn thicker than 3/4 of an inch, aren't they?
Yeah.
Are they 3/4 of an inch by what?
The standard, I believe, is 4 inches.
Well, you can get it in any width.
Right, but they sell these planks and basically just cut them to size and miter the edges and,
Mitered corners?
well, meaning you could just get the planks as opposed to a big board that you have to cut to size. You can get them at 5 inches wide, 4
Right.
inches.
I know how they
Right.
come. I use it all the time. I know how they come. I'm asking, how are you using them? What are the joints? What's the detail of the window surrounds? Do they go
Probably
to
gonna
a
do a butt
45 corner?
joint.
Do they overlap each other?
Butt joint. Yeah, to get this look, we'll do a butt joint.
Okay, so it's a strict square. There's no overhangs. There's no
Correct.
The bottom piece isn't wider than the top piece, they're all the exact same widths, they're all the exact same sizes.
Yeah, the tops are,
Yeah, I mean, again, we're looking at the drawings, and the tops of those bottom windows are twice as deep or twice as wide as the ones at the bottom, and the upper windows have the window sills extend further.
Let's look at the elevation.
We're approving something, and we want to have all the details approved so that somebody can say yes or no to it. You know, what is that? What is those, were the two rectangles on either side of the window openings?
So this right here, what we're gonna do is, there's gonna be one piece of trim going across here, and then 2, 3, and then 4.
But it's not drawn that way.
Yeah, yes, correct.
Okay. Now, why are the heads on the lower windows so much deeper? They're not 1x4s. They're like 1x12s or something.
Right here, correct?
Yeah.
That one was, I just wanted to bring like another decorative feature to those windows, especially on the first floor. Because there's definitely more wall space. So that was the main intention there.
Okay, and the bricks you have showing, you have square bricks, not bricks, that you're showing on the drawings. Are they bricks? What's the height of the bricks? Again, we're just trying to make sure that what's drawn is what's being approved.
Yeah, so.
Or
we will-
clarified.
Yeah, we'll use nominal size brick. That exact brick hasn't been selected.
I'm not worried about the color, I'm worried about the size.
Yeah, it'll be a nominal size brick, just like you have it right here.
Just a standard sized brick, but
Yeah.
again, it's not drawn that way. Correct?
Okay.
I don't see the brick, the normal stacked brick pattern drawn on the drawings. How are you managing the rainwater from all these roofs?
We're more likely do gutters around the roofs.
Again, they're not in your details.
Okay.
Your details are missing any detail. And we're supposed to be approving details. So what kind of gutters, what shape, what size, how big, what are they made out of?
Okay.
Do you have any of that?
I don't have that ready.
Okay. Why on the, can you go to the front and the side elevations, the street front elevations, please? On all of these elevations, except for one, the pair of windows in the upper right-hand corner and the middle windows in the left on the bottom elevation, all the other windows misalign. Is there a purpose for that?
So we're looking at this elevation, correct?
All elevations, both elevations. The upper elevation, the only windows that are aligned are the ones on the far right, and on the bottom elevation, the only windows that are aligned are the ones kind of like left of the entry. Is there a reason why all the windows don't align? That there's no symmetry involved?
I mean, I'm seeing that they're aligned to the top.
I mean vertically. Like some sort of order or uniformity to the windows aligning from the first floor to the second floor.
Oh, that mainly has to do with the second floor walls being recessed. So I was more looking at trying to find equal spacing on the walls that these windows are.
But you don't have an interior plan. You haven't drawn the plans yet for the insides, have you? Is there a reason for them not aligning with the first floor windows? As you do on the other elevations, if you go to the courtyard elevations, see everything here aligns. Well, except for that one over there on that tower, but all these other windows are stacked and aligned and kind of have an order and a regularity, which again is what is somewhat a typical pattern and condition of houses throughout Hyde Park, especially two-story houses, is that there's a symmetry and an alignment and a regularity and not so irregular a window pattern.
Well, that mainly has to do because these walls align with each other, so it's more.
That doesn't seem to, I don't know what that has to do with the windows not aligning,
Well, if you
even if the walls are recessed.
If you recess, well, if I recess these, like these walls are recessed right now, and I tried to make this line, then I feel like I have more wall space to the right. So it's not, the windows are not evenly distributed across this wall space right here.
And I'm
So
asking
it's just an
why.
aesthetic decision.
I think that's what it is, mainly about the look. I think with it being a two-story too, I mean, just off thinking about it, I think it would look a little strange if both stories had the same exact windows.
But that, again, I'm just saying that's a historic pattern throughout the Hyde Park neighborhood. That's
It
a
is.
historic pattern. And I'm just wondering, I'm asking the questions as to why these decisions were made. On these two towers, on these two elevations, the brick does not go to the windowsill. However, on the other side of the building we just showed in the rendering, the brick goes to the windowsill. Is there a reason for that difference? For that change in the detailing consistency?
That is something, I mean, we can modify that, but no, it was just really just to keep these windows all the same size. These windows happen to be taller, so it met up with right where the brick
Again,
starts.
I'm just asking, there's a inconsistency on the different elevations. So you would have downspouts, gutters and downspouts all over the facade of this house, right, that aren't being shown in the elevations?
Correct.
Okay. Can you tell us what the roof edge fascia detail, at the wall to the roof transition and the roof to the fascia board transition? Is it a fascia board? Is there any trim? What's the detail to all that? Basically, I'm getting at is that there's no detailed wall sections to tell us, these are just blocked out gray boxes or brown boxes, but there's no detail, there's no articulation.
It's just gonna be the fascia board, then you have the aluminum flashing, and then you're gonna have the ventilated soffit.
Is the ventilated soffit going to match the roof, or is it going to be white?
No, we're gonna match the roof. as close
Okay,
as
so
we
it's
can.
all going to be a brown
Yes,
thing there, okay. But again, you have gutters, you have downspouts that aren't being shown. That because of all these multiple roofs, I think there's going to be a considerable number of those all over the place that we're not seeing to have any comment on. I guess those are my only questions right now. Thank you.
Can I ask another question? Can you pull up the north elevation? There's a, no, in the drawing,
on the drawing.
yeah. There's one thing that I noticed that, was it the north? Okay, yeah, on the north, yeah. Can you identify the item on the far left?
That's the covered breezeway.
Okay.
I
what-
just don't show the detached
Got it.
structure.
Okay, that's was throwing me off. Yeah, I didn't see the attachment. Can you show me that in plan?
In the plan, yes.
Yeah. Okay. With that connector, if you can just go to the one of your perspectives on that. Oh, okay. So, it seems like, to me, there would be a beam showing there, you know, that, that the trusses are bearing on. And I don't know if it's, like, if you, is that consistent with what's going on with your front porch? If you understand what I'm asking. I mean, it seems to me like there would be a beam that would be showing there, that these trusses are sitting on.
Correct.
Go up one.
Yeah.
Right there.
That, yes,
Yeah.
just like that.
That's correct, yeah. It
Yeah,
is-
that looks odd to me, okay? And, you know, and that's, I think would show some consistency from one to the other. Okay, thank you.
Is that accessory structure, is it a contributing structure?
It is.
Okay, so then can you tell me the connection? Because this rendering looks like it's physically connecting to it.
Correct.
Okay,
That'll be the intention.
that's the intention, okay. And then now go back to your site, well, you know, stay on this first one. The little knee wall that's coming out of your porch, right in the center of that up, go to left a little bit. Not that one, the one in the middle,
Oh, right.
right there. Is there a functional purpose of that, or is that purely aesthetic?
Purely aesthetic, yeah.
Okay. All right, so go back to your site plan for me, please. All right, now zoom in on that breezeway. Okay,
Oops.
again, we're having an issue with your, well, I want to look at the breezeway specifically. All right, so your roof, the way you're showing it in the renderings is actually making contact with the primary house.
Correct.
Okay. That's just not drawn. It's a little deceptive here. Okay. And then the door on the accessory structure is moving, it looks like?
We will have to move that, yes.
Okay. And that's a separate submittal. Okay. Okay. If you would, you had some nice exhibits that showed the before and after. Can you just go back to those for me,
Yes.
please?
Is there a specific one?
I'm going to go through each one, but this is a
Okay.
good place to start. Okay. So here, all right, we see what we call a beam reveal there. So that proportion is slightly smaller on the tower. Windows are shorter. Okay, I understand. All right, you can go to the next one. Okay, yeah, I understand that. Okay. Okay. Yep, I understood this one. So you made the front porch wider.
Yes.
All right,
And recessed it back.
okay. Okay. All right, that's good. Last question I have, nothing changed on the height of the house?
No.
Okay. Okay, those are the questions I have. Any other questions? Okay. So you have 5-minute rebuttal, if you so choose.
With the brick, right? I think that the image we have, the brown brick you showed, that's a different pattern that's on the house. Is that what he's saying?
No, he's just referring to the hatch. It's the same pattern on the renderings.
Okay, so the rendering to the house is different.
No, yeah, it's the scaling.
Okay. So I was gonna say it's not exactly gonna look like that. It's just gonna be brick on top of each other, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Never mind.
Nothing. No comments.
Okay. All right. Okay, at this point, we're going to close the public hearing and we will start with discussions. The floor is open.
I'm aware that we're not looking at construction documents. And that seldom do we get construction documents, level. But this is lacking any details of any kind, and I'm not comfortable with that. That it's all generic, almost SketchUp level of detail, even the wall sections and whatnot, and missing beams and things that aren't constructible, and as drawn, it's not constructible in a number of places. And I think I'm just uncomfortable with the lack of detail, that's all.
Fair. My question would be the changes on the 6 points, specifically the southwest tower, things like that. What's your thought? Do you think the front porch, the entry?
I think some of those things were taken care of. Redesigning the front porch in a more hospitable way. I'm still kind of confused about why, when you have a front porch and a front portico, that the roof is so high, it's 12 feet up in the air, which is not going to protect anything from anything. And then there's also another giant recess to the door, which it doesn't make much sense to me. Yes, the porch is now more occupable with you know, could get some furniture, or it could be occupied, whereas the previous one couldn't be. And then I guess the last one, it says, in addition to detailing all the final parts of the building that are required for a certificate of appropriateness. That has not been met. There's been no detailing.
I understand
Yeah,
that 100%.
so that's one of the 6 items. So 5 of the 6, okay.
Okay. What about you, the other 2 commissioners up here?
Well, I don't have just a comment, don't have an issue with the windows not aligning, because I think that that's okay, because I see the symmetry being within each individual wall plane, so I just.
Well, yeah, there's a local symmetry, right, yeah.
Right.
What about the brick elevation? The inconsistency of that?
In the drawing?
It's in the renderings,
Yeah.
where it hits the bottom of the window at times. And
It's a completely different detail than if one is a brick windowsill and then the other one is a wood windowsill, but then goes right to brick, to
You
a
got-
brick,
you got a valid
to a
point.
stucco cap, to something, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's a level of clarity, I guess is what I'm gonna say, level of clarity, level of consistency. You know, the roofs, again, they're not articulated, they're not detailed, we don't know. There's no dimension on the depth of the overhangs, there's lack of information, and I'm just not comfortable with the lack of information. We didn't get any more advancement from the preliminary in detail or clarity of construction and that kind of thing. We just got those, 5 of the 6 points altered, but the drawings have not been advanced to the state that we normally get for approval, for final approval, for a certificate of appropriateness.
Commissioner Myers?
I have to agree with Commissioner Prokop. There's a lot of detail that is missing, and there's really a lot of inconsistencies. And I think that it will be helpful for the applicant to, in their design process, to provide the level of detail that we're requesting in order that they can clarify things in their own mind.
So then,
No, I agree. I agree with that. Yeah.
so here's the $1 million question. Is this presented to staff, or does it need to come back?
We can't throw this level of stuff to staff, in my opinion. Again, even just downspouts and gutters. I mean, some of that stuff is major, major detailing has a major impact on the appearance of the house from the exterior.
Okay.
Good evening, Commissioners. Ron Vila. If you're looking to continue this, we're looking at the July 7th, 2025 public hearing. I believe y'all had a scrivener up there. Somebody was taking some notes. So if we could be specific on the direction moving forward. I know some are more general than others, but if you could be specific on some to help this gentleman move this project forward.
Does that, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Does that include really any time before the submission date for the July meeting? Does that provide the applicant sufficient time to provide the level of detail needed?
Yeah, he's got to to June 18th to provide those additional drawings to you. He's here, I think you should open up the public hearing and ask him, or if he wants to continue to a later date.
You know what? Since this is the only one tonight, I will reopen the public hearing. If we could have the applicant come up. Oh, I need a motion to, oh, I'm sorry.
Move to reopen the public hearing?
I'll second.
Second. Seeing no discussion, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. All right, the public hearing is open. Thank you, Dan. You understand the conversation that's going on up here?
Yes, I do. I'm definitely taken a little bit off guard as to, I thought we were gonna address those particular conditions, and that would kind of be the end-all be-all, but
Well,
That's
it's
not
the
the case.
last condition. So I think you've addressed, as one of my commissioners said, 5 of the 6. The issue is, for us, and I'm gonna take the liberty of speaking for them, is when there is things that still have to be worked through, and when there are obvious things that have not been thought out, it will change the aesthetic and the form. So it's not fair to us to expect us to approve this when we know full well that there are gonna be changes being made. So that's why we're asking for a wall section, so that we can look at it and say, oh, that's how he's handling that. Good or bad, that's how he's doing it, and then we can react to it. So it's putting us in a position where we know this is changing, but we're being asked to approve it. So that's why you need to go to that one next level, and there's plenty of examples in past hearings, and hearings that you've been at, where you see a construction detail that shows what's happening, and it's so we can react to it, and then it becomes a record, a part of the record to say, that's what's happening. Does that make sense? Because,
No, it
again, the
does, it does.
breezeway, it just seems like it was kind of thrown on there at the last minute, and it hasn't been thought through the whole time, and again, once it piles up a certain amount, then we're not comfortable giving it to staff. So that's what's happening, and I think you can hear the tenor that there's enough
Yeah.
that
How,
don't feel comfortable.
even that breezeway, how you attach to a contributing structure is a critical detail, because a contributing structure will be altered in such a way by attaching something to it. We want to see how it's being attached or how it's being held off.
Right, which would be preferable.
It would be preferred that it never, that thing do not touch a contributing structure, because once you start to attach something to it, you're damaging a contributing structure. You're damaging the original material, the historic fabric of that building. So those kinds of things, that level of detail of what you're doing, have to be included in this, in a final certificate of appropriateness hearing. We need to see certain details that are listed in the general criteria. You know, a full wall section at 3/4 of an inch that details everything that's going on. The gutters, the fascia, how the fascia board and the soffit piece join. Are they joined flat? Are they offset? Is there a recess? Is there a drip edge? All those things we need to see.
But I think out of the 5 out of the 6, you've come back, you've addressed it. There might be an aesthetic appeal a little different, but I didn't hear anything that was not acceptable to those. It's just downspouts, construction detailing, and again, I just think that breezeway has not been thought out, and it's touching a historic structure. You gotta think that through. Do you have any questions about that?
no, I don't. I just want to understand where you're coming from as well. But for example, gutters weren't mentioned last time, downspouts, things of this nature.
We don't
Is-
need to
is-
mention them. We don't need to mention them. They're a part of what's required as a basic application. They're in the application standards that you're required to provide.
I'm just looking through a list of the material palette, and I didn't see that on there. So I can provide more detail, absolutely. I'm just trying to avoid more things coming up that just kind of feel like it came out of nowhere, that's all.
Well, again, I think 5 out of 6, the tenor I'm hearing is acceptable. And what we can do, because we're gonna head to a continuance, is we will give a detailed list, if there's any issue. We'll go back in discussion and we'll have a list. But I just wanted to make sure you're understanding what's happening up here.
Yes, I am.
Sir, do you have any questions?
No, I understand what you guys are saying. We didn't factor in the gutters and stuff just because I guess it wasn't, we didn't feel like we were there yet, but we're not gonna, I know what he's saying, that the roof line, there's a lot of it, but of course, we are not gonna, put gutters on, there's ways that the designers design the houses, the gutter companies, to try to make it, we don't want gutters on every corner of the home, and it's not gonna, it's not gonna look like that, but I understand what you guys are saying with the detail, and it needs to be, included.
Okay.
So if I can interject real quick, I'll check on the office. The next available will be July 9th, not the 7th. So it's July 9th, 2025 at 5:30 PM.
Okay. All right, at that point, I'm gonna close the public hearing and go back to discussion. So based on that, we do need to have some pointers here, whoever makes the motion, and make sure we're clear. I just wanna make sure that, it sounds like proportion of the structure, we don't have any issues with. Window sizes, I know we talked about alignment, but I think the general consensus is there's a rationale for it. The only other the breezeway is a bigger issue for me, but the only other issue is consistency with the brick, the decorative brick height. Is that an issue, or is that just an aesthetic decision on the owner's part?
Well, I mean, I would say honestly that we need wall sections through all of them. We need wall sections through the different conditions, showing how the window would meet brick versus how the window would not meet, if there wasn't a brick there.
I understand that. I guess my question is, it is a different look depending on which elevation you're looking at. With that being said, the two street frontages are consistent.
Right, he changed the size of the windows is what he did. He made the windows smaller. He didn't move the brick line.
Okay.
I think the brick line stays the same all the way around the house. The height of the windows changes, so that sometimes the windows hit the brick and sometimes they stop short of the brick. They're
Right.
taller than.
Is that an issue, or is that just an aesthetic preference?
No,
It's not an issue for me.
Yeah.
no, it's an aesthetic preference, but I just had to ask the question, why do some hit and why do some not? And he even said, it's because the window heights are different.
Got it.
Okay, but, when we talk about, the wall sections to explain what's going on, like there should be a wall section through both porches. So we can see how the beam, the ceilings, the roof all interact. There should be wall sections through a quote-unquote typical wall. There should be wall sections through how the joint or how the connector meets or doesn't meet, which, like I said, I think we all agree would be preferable that it stop short and not touch and be free-floating and have its own columns there and not attach and not flash. But how that happens. Our typical thing is how does the brick meet the foundation? Does the brick stop short of the grass? Or does it go down below grass?
Right, that's the wall section.
All
yeah.
those kinds of walls, those kinds of things all should be clear, even if they are, short of actual, we don't need to see the rebar and we don't need to see any of that stuff that you normally get. But we need more,
Okay.
and I think in this case, because there's so many different conditions, that there's multiple wall sections that we'd like to look at. How does the brick meet the stucco?
So just to summarize,
Yeah.
we have multiple wall sections, which is our standard, multiple wall sections. The breezeway needs to be further defined, and specifically, make it where it's structurally buildable.
Where it can stand
And
up.
Does it touch, does it not touch? How does it interact with a contributing structure? And then from a material standpoint, it looked like he gave us most of the materials other than the gutters. And in this situation, we not only want the type and size of gutters, but also proposed locations of gutters.
Or downspouts, yeah.
Downspouts, I'm
yeah.
sorry. Well, and gutters for that matter, but,
Yes.
okay. So multiple wall sections, was there anything else?
Well, you brought up, and you said that's a separate application to moving the door in the contributing structure.
The reason I said that is on the plan, it says not for review. And I just noticed that it was there off-site, so it would not be part of this review, but it would be.
It would have to
separate.
come back as a
It would have to
separate
come
review.
back as a separate application.
Yeah,
Yeah, and to Ron's point, that could be a staff review.
Right.
So, okay.
okay.
But I also feel that there needs to be more, the window details are going to be fairly standard, but we need to have some dimensional information. And certainly where we're on the first floor, we have this top piece of trim that is made larger than all the rest. And then above that, it's all standard, so we would need, we need to have that, because that's part of the design aesthetic that, is what we're looking at here. And also, we don't even know yet if this is a two-story block residence or the first story is block and the second story is frame. And when it certainly has a lot of implications for when that face brick goes up above the floor line.
It's behind frame, or it's in front of frame. It would be,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, that's gonna be a wall section.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's, for the choices that he's making, of course, there's some very large financial implications, and so we don't, part of the reason that we're asking for this, I think, is so that we can understand better, where we're gonna come out on this, because we've got that, it's like the basic, is it, first story block, second story frame, or is it all block? So that's just an added reason for that.
It
And also-
changes the window details also.
Yeah.
And how the windows are framed and where they're set back and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, and also the function, there are some, I'm just looking at the west elevation here, and in the upper right-hand corner, there's a window that, I think it's a single,
Casement,
doesn't look like a casement though, the way it's drawn,
it
it looks,
looks like a pivot.
yeah. And so I think it would be good if we could get all that clarified. Certainly, and in the historic context,
Right.
a casement window is much preferred to a pivot, so.
And none of these windows are drawn as if they are single hung. You don't see any double sashes or recessed bottom sashes and anything. So, yeah, it'd be nice to know if they are casement, if they are single hung, and have them actually drawn that way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We have a motion ready?
Is everyone looking at me?
Yeah, everybody.
Let me put these on. Where's the continuation? I move to grant a continuation of the case ARC 25000155 for the property at 1806 West Bristol Avenue to the July 9th public hearing at 5:30 PM with the considerations that more detailing and buildability deficiencies need to be corrected, that there be complete wall sections through multiple locations in the building, from foundation to roof, that include more window details, and it clarifies window types and locations.
Breezeway.
And added that the breezeway be further detailed and clarified, and its relationship to the existing contributing structure be detailed and clarified.
And gutters and
Well, I think the gutters and the downspouts included in all the wall sections and roof, to below roof. But yes, gutters, downspouts, accessories, fascia, and relationship between brick and stucco, all be clarified.
Would you also be agreeable to add in the porch decking material, sidewalk materials? It's all the same color on here, so we just need some, is it concrete?
Yeah, the wall sections, obviously the wall sections need to include sections through all the porches, calling out materials and detailing such materials in construction.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second. Any discussion necessary? Oh. The applicant. Do you understand the motion and specifically the comments that were attached to the continuance?
Yes,
Perfect. And you're agreeable to those?
yes.
All right, perfect. All right, just seeing no more discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Good luck, sir. All right, so I'm looking for a motion to receive and file submitted documents and exhibits.
Move to receive and file submitted documents and exhibits.
Second.
So I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes, and we are adjourned.
He was out the door.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. Melissa Zornita, Executive Director of the Hillsborough County City